Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Guerilla Cricket.
Welcome to another Guerilla Cricket podcast. My guest today is a lifelong cricket fan. His 2015 autobiography, one of his 3 books, received glowing testimonials from Michael Atherton, World Cup rugby winner Will Greenwood, Sky Sports presenter Hayley McQueen, and many others. He was for many years a statistician for Manchester United's TV channel, has been invited to a Buckingham Palace Garden party in celebration of his work, and has been interviewed by John Humphries on the Today programme, no less. What makes these achievements exceptional is that Andrew Edwards is autistic and has had to use every ounce of determination and will to overcome the odds and succeed. Andrew, a very, very warm welcome to Guerilla Cricket.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bishop, and that was a lovely introduction, to be honest. So, yes.
You are most welcome. Now, your 2015 book was called I've Got a Stat For You, My Life with Autism. Now, many people may feel they know something, but let's start, if you don't mind, with just a simple explanation of what autism is, so people kind of really understand what you're dealing with.
Well, the definition of it would be a neurological condition that is undoubtedly been proven to be a hereditary and genetic. Over time, that has become abundantly clear, both in my experiences and in life. It isn't caused by vaccines, as that has been totally disproven. It is a hereditary genetic condition, and you have obsessional and addictive behaviours, and a firm basis on matters such as routine. The interests you may have are usually to the obsession of an obsessional nature, and also people with autism. A lot of people with autism, including myself over the years, can have such matters as eating disorders. So, which I didn't realise really. I knew really until quite recently, until about 3.5 years ago, when I volunteered with some autistic youngsters locally.
Okay, now. The simple sort of dictionary definition was an inability to relate to other people in the outside world, but that kind of oversimplifies it. That rather oversimplifies it, doesn't it?
That's in my memoirs, Mr. Bishop. I put that in my memoirs. Yeah. But I think sometimes it's a very broad spectrum. It's a spectrum condition, and it is termed that for a reason. Like, I said this in my memoirs, 5.5 years ago now, where Lionel Messi's autistic, Anthony Hopkins is autistic, Marshall Mathers III Eminem's autistic, Gordon Brown's autistic, Robbie Williams is autistic. But the thing is, so that gives you one end of the spectrum. But then there's some people who are autistic who can't talk, are non-verbal, are non-verbal, and people who may actually be very physically impaired as well. So you like I say, Lionel Messi, matter of opinion, he's definitely one of the 2 best footballers of his generation, but undoubtedly so. So he's autistic, and like I say, he can actually be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and actually be autistic as well. So
okay, wow. Well, so tell us a little bit how the writing of the book came about. Now, I've thoroughly enjoyed reading it. Sometimes it's quite a painful read. I found myself getting angry on your behalf at some of the lack of understanding from people who I felt, and you felt, I think, should really know better. But tell us a little bit, what brought you to take everything you'd experienced and get it down on paper, and so other people could understand it?
Well, I got to a junction in my life when I'd just been made redundant from Manchester United Television. Due to not Manchester United Television, because they didn't mind if I decided to do that, but I was prohibited because at that time we were, well, they still are after I've left, completely different environment now. They're fully owned by Manchester United FC Limited, and they wouldn't let me mention Manchester United or as a childhood Manchester United fan, so that was on the back burner then. When I was made redundant on Monday 21st of April 2014, the day that David Moyes was sacked as Manchester manager.
Oh, right.
But I wish in a lot of ways it'd have been quite a better story if I was made redundant the day that Sir Alex Ferguson retired, but that would have been a hell of a story. But no, it's David Moyes. But the thing is, after that, all my support was going to be cut by the services, the health services. My brother-in-law, who was my support worker for 17 and a half years, up until the age of 29, he was going as well, although he lives next door with my sister, my niece, and at the time when the monk was at my nephew had just gone to uni, but then he lives in Wigan now. But his partner and his daughter. But that made me my sister step up and become my carer in the day, obviously. We'll talk about it more. At the time, my beloved mother was still alive. But my sister, Melanie Beckley, who lives next door, realised that I wasn't going to rot, and she was going to put everything into me, and she wanted to help me fulfill the dream of writing memoirs. I thought I'd lived a moderately interesting life, and I felt I had the ability to articulate it, and I certainly wouldn't need a ghostwriter, like no disrespect, like some cricket autobiographies, for instance, have.
A lot of sports ones, for sure.
Exactly, yeah. Well, not just sports ones, but I don't want to sound cynical, but there's probably a book out by Captain Tom Morgan at the moment. I'm not being awful. No disrespect, I really would assume that's been written by a ghostwriter as well. But like with mine, I felt I had the ability to articulate dates, because my beloved ma, kept the papers for meetings. There's some items of the past that we could have mentioned due to legal reasons. Chapter 4, for instance. And my sister got out the feelings and emotions to make well,
you mentioned
the total package of the development of the book.
Well, you mentioned a couple of things there, Andrew. So one, I mean, let's jump to it now. Throughout the book, through all the challenges and difficulties and obstacles that are put in your way, and the misunderstanding and abuse that you have to deal with, your mum was an absolute rock who motivated you, supported you, stood by you at every turn. I mean, knock my headphones off. She kind of is there right the way through the book at your side, isn't she? She's quite an inspirational figure in your life.
Not just at my side, one step in front. I've been discussing this with my sister now because unfortunately my beloved ma passed away quite suddenly on December 18th, 2020 at Wrexham Hospital. We didn't get to say goodbye to her, which personally is not the ideal scenario, but hundreds of millions have done it, apart from Tom Moore's family in the last year, where it was very sudden. Like 8 days before, she accompanied me to the gym. Queen Terry Fletcher, a 25-minute drive, as a passenger in the back, my sister driving, I mean the front passengers. 4 mornings a week she accompanied me at that gym. Rain or shine, she put all her money into that for the gym for both me and Melanie. And 9 days before I passed away, she gave me chest and back wax in the kitchen. And 6 days before she passed away, she made a big fuss of a newborn great-granddaughter, Olivia, my nephew's daughter, my nephew Lewis Beckley, L-U-I-S, Beckley, who's actually middle names after me. Andrew, we've said a lot of stories, me and him have with cricket, many stories. But it was very sudden. Like, it was COPD, which she'd had for some years, off and on. Well, not off and on. I think she'd had it for some years. She was sort of diagnosed, I think, with that probably about 96. But she had a urinary tract infection. And then when she went into hospital, when they gave her a test, she tested positive for coronavirus, COVID. So then after that, we were told a matter of time before she goes. So she lived another 2 days and probably was fighting to the very end, not wanting to wear a mask, not wanting to wear an oxygen mask. But then the thing is with her, she adapted quite well during the pandemic because she probably would have had the exemption without wearing a facial covering. But she always wanted to wear a facial covering. She was very careful during the pandemic. And not just for my mouth, but for a lot of people, especially older people, who, so the last year of their lives, they've had this pandemic. Now I'm lucky, I'm only 36. I'd like to think I've got plenty of years left. But she adapted to it quite well. Yeah, I think it took its toll on her emotionally. Like, for instance, she used to be able to, with the aid of her crutch, walk about a quarter of a mile from the gym to local spa to get a pension and autism benefits for me in Queensferry on a Monday from the gym. And then after the first lockdown, she had to take in a wheelchair to go that far, but she still was very mobile around the house. She was the leader. If anything needed sorted, I'll do it. Give me the phone, I'll sort it. Give me the phone, I'll sort it. Even to the, and it's like, so she actually inadvertently gave me a love of cricket.
Well, we will come on to the very much. We're going to come on to the love of cricket. Don't worry, I've got lots of questions for you about that.
She, like you probably gauged from reading the memoirs, chapter 1 and chapter 4 were the toughest for her regarding my upbringing.
Well, let me just ask you, because there's a couple of things that I really were inspiring to read, but hard to read, just because of the things you'd been through. One was, mistreatment and bullying at school by, I think, a teacher or teachers, and the fight that you went through to, and your mum was very much a part of getting justice there, really, wasn't she?
Well, for reasons that I can't go into, the one on chapter 4, for reasons that I can't go into on air, I get a constant reminder of that constantly on my phone through no fault of my own.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you when we finish the interview why that is.
Okay.
But the thing is, we got what we could, and that was, I'm being honest, what she got at the end out of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority. It's been a big help in her passing, because it's sort of a very small amount. It was very small, but it's undoubtedly enabled me to pay the bills on the house, to be honest, in recent months.
That was good. And one of the other things you talk about is a distrust of the media, which I think is rather sort of crass misrepresentation of autism and what it is. I think there's one particular Sunday newspaper you mentioned. Yes,
that was a darkly humorous story, to put it mildly. I'd won an award in Cardiff, a Welsh National Young Volunteer Award, but not far from the Senate, at the Norwegian Church. And that was for a speech I gave to some teenagers about my non-profit speeches, Teenagers in the Village's Lie, which the 1985 votes Snooker champion Dennis Taylor lives. I don't know if you remember, former Nottingham Forest, Derby, and Birmingham City and Wales football 70s, Terry Hennessy's from there. Mark used the first 4 years of his life there before he moved to Rwabon, and his parents divorced. And I don't know if you remember the football of the 90s, who played for Crystal Palace and Spurs. Chris Armstrong grew up there.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and he grew up in the Village's Lie. He was born in Newcastle, but he was adopted and he went to live in Clyde. Anyway, and the thing was, I gave a speech to a youth club in Clyde, and the lady that organised it Not my for the Scottish, so I got to sign that, whatever. Then I got an email. I remember it was the day before the FA Cup final in 2008, Portsmouth Cardiff. But one of the more interesting cup finals, shall we say?
Yeah.
Well, Cardiff were in the Championship, and Portsmouth got United at the quarter final in that year, 2008. I think John Cusack was sent off, wasn't he? And United ended up with Rio Ferdinand goal in that game. England were in New Zealand at the time. It was the test where it was Hogarth's last test. Yeah. And they decided then after that to bring Anderson abroad and partner them up.
Well, what a gateway to a long-term future that happened to be for those two.
Well, it did, didn't it, really? Because Broad had only made his test debut a few months before in Sri Lanka. First test in Sri Lanka, which not exactly the best place as a fast medium sea bowler to make your test debut, but so I was nominated for that. Won the award in Cardiff. I got the nomination. Found out I'd won it. I went there in June. So the thing is with after that, we publicised it in like the Daily Post, BBC Wales website. The article's still online. But the BBC Wales were going to cover me. Follow me to a T20 Roses match at Old Trafford because I was a member at the time of Lancashire for 11 and a half years. And we didn't want that because it was getting a bit wrong because my employers at Manchester United Television were very protective over me and so forth. And then Ma made this comment that we always say, what the specialist said, which is on the back of the book, which since then, I'll say it willingly, the specialist told my mother upon diagnosing me, go home and watch Rain Man. It is like someone will be institutionalised. That was in the Daily Post and so forth, the North Wales newspaper. And then on the Sunday, we'd had a bit of a get together for my nephew's 12th birthday, Lewis. And next morning, for some reason, I just don't know why, I slept into after lunch, and that is so unlike me. I'm usually up at the crack of dawn, like I've been up since 3:30 this morning for obvious reasons for the test. But the thing is, and then I got a text off one of my best mates, Pazman, and he said, a close mate of mine, and said, on page 13 of the News of the World, they've dubbed you Rain Man new fan. I read it, and it was like, very much insinuating that all my mates and co-workers at Manchester United Television call me Rain Man, which was very irresponsible of them. But then an interesting story after that. I was actually classed as self-employed unknowingly at the time. But I classed myself very much employed at Manchester United Television, even though for some reason I got sorted later. But I went back after my summer break, and someone who became the managing director of MUTV, she became my line manager briefly, turn of the last decade.
Right. And
she said, we had Richard and Judy on the phone from Channel 4. They wanted you on. We turned them down point blank because we wanted to protect you. And I thought, thank you for that. And we didn't know what Richard Madeley would be likely to say, what inappropriate comment he would likely to unwittingly say. So that was good. But really,
so they were actually worried that, having seen the example of the News of the World sort of crass and ill-informed.
They were worried generally because of it being the media. And I think they're always, Manchester United, less so MUTV, Manchester United are very concerned with their reputation. Very concerned with it. But certainly at MUTV, I think we're concerned that...
Oh, I'm with you,
because Manchester United and MUTV were separate offices, separate... Yep. MUTV was based in Deansgate by the Hilton, by the Old Granada Studios, and obviously Manchester United were based at Old Trafford. And very different ethoses. Manchester United, very corporate, and MUTV, very creative environment. And there's only going to be one winner there, which was coming to fruition as I was made redundant.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I think they were concerned I sort of dig a hole for myself unwittingly. But then after that, I've changed my attitude now because with life experience, to be honest.
Well, you've become quite a media professional. I heard your interview with John Humphries, who would terrify me, and you were terrific.
And I'll tell you something. I was told when we phoned, I probably the thing with the Today programme was I didn't realise how popular it was.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
because I just thought, it's just what my auntie Sheena and Uncle Jim, my late Uncle Jim used to listen to. My godparents, so Uncle Jim listens to the TV programme. So I came up with John Humphries every morning. So that's what I just thought. I didn't realise that it's got more listeners than any TV at that equivalent time in the United Kingdom. And only the Radio 2 breakfast show has more listeners.
Extraordinary.
So, and when I realised, oh my God, he's going to eat me alive. So I rang them up. I rang one of the producers up, someone called Julie Hard, who was like the very initial contact with a lovely lady called Katie Inman, sorted it out, really. And I rang up and said, is he going to eat me alive? Said, you're not a politician, you're not a business person, you'll be fine. And then how it came about was, it was before I had a publisher, because I'd written the memoirs. This is a great story. It actually comes across as a bit of a bluff, really, not a hiss. Because I hadn't a publisher. I'd written the memoirs. I've been turned down by quite a few publishers, including the ones that class themselves as the autism publisher, Jessica Kingsley Publishing, who turned me down in a day without actually reading any of my writing, apart from just like an idea of it.
Yes.
And others turned me down. Some were suited, some were not. We went through all the names in the author's yearbook that we got. I'm from Waterstones, and Ma went through that. She phoned one, let's see, 6 times. I mean, she knew 6 times accidentally because she'd gone through them all. So then we just thought, we'll get into media companies, see if any of them can publicise it. A few turned me down, didn't get back. So then my nephew Lewis says to Ma, Nan, some of my lectures are to the Today programme on Radio 4, like Auntie Shireen does, and Uncle Jimbo do. Why didn't you get in touch with them? So Ma got on the phone to them. I sent an email, because I'm quite a long-winded writer, long-form writer. And anyway, I was in what was then my favourite coffee shop in the northern quarter of Manchester. I was going to watch 12 Angry Men that night at the Salford Lowry with my nephew Lewis. And they rang me out the blue, unknown number. Oh, hello, I'm Katie Inman from BBC Radio 4. I couldn't really hear her, so I had to cut the call short because it was not great reception. It was quite busy. It was like tea time. And then she rang me the next day, had a big long 30-minute conversation. Spoke to me, spoke to my sister, spoke to me, spoke to Melanie, spoke to Ma, I think. And then emails got sent across the week and phone calls exchanged and so forth. And it wasn't until the day before I recorded the interview at Glendower University in Wrexham, the media industries department of Glendower University. John Humphries was in his house in Ravenscourt Park in West London. Katie Inman was in Broadcasting House. So it's like, it was okay. And they actually got me on the Today programme. No physical product, no existing product of it. Very little about me online at the time. Yeah. Because I was trying to avoid that at the time, because it was got a bit the other way then after MUTV. When I was at MUTV. So then they got me on. So I just sent 3 chapters. I sent 3 tasty chapters. Yeah. And they interviewed me. When I actually went out on air on Easter Saturday 2015, I recorded it on Easter Thursday. I'd gone for a run. Wow. So I didn't realise the enormity, gone for a run with my sister. I didn't actually realise the enormity of what I achieved until several months later. So
no, it's just fantastic.
When I used to, and then after that, because we didn't have a DAB in the car at the time, I used to listen to it every morning on the way to the gym. So probably the last half an hour of it, let's just say, because I'd listen to Sean Keaveney on Sick Music before then.
Well, no, you come across quite brilliantly in it, I must say. Let me just ask you before we get on to cricket. I want to ask you about a line in the book that really struck me. You say 2 things actually, which hit me. One is that you describe your autism as both a blessing and a curse.
A gift and a curse, yes.
And then you have this wonderful line. You have this wonderful line, despite the sort of bullying and mistreatment that you've talked about, some of which you said you can't talk about. But what you say is it's something they have to live with, not me, which seemed to me such a brilliant way of reflecting back onto people who are ignorant and unfair and cruel. The fact that it's their problem, not yours.
Because at the end of the day, I can't, like I found with the pandemic, I can't be held accountable for the mistakes of politicians. I can't be held accountable for all this situation. Only thing, and I'm not in control of very much. Only matters I'm in control of is my conduct and the way I conduct myself, because that's all we can do. Conduct ourselves the best way we can. We can't be held accountable for other people or other situations in life, because what we have in life is very little of what we would crave in life is very much out of our control. And I learned that very recently with the pandemic, and it makes you more grateful. But at the end of the day, going back to that, I can say, and my mum, when she was physically here, she can say she did everything for me, more than the job's worth. And I did it. I just went to those places on those days as pretty much an innocent child. I think there's people out there who've had it a lot worse than me, admittedly. So I don't try and I'm not naive enough or egotistical enough or woe is me to think, well, people have had it a lot worse. I can think of a lot worse situations that can happen than that happens to other people. So I try keeping a positive mental attitude and controlling the controllables. But I just think you can't be held accountable for other people's actions, can you?
No, and you get that.
We always we could live in New Zealand, don't we? We always could live in New Zealand just as Ardern as Prime Minister, but that's out of our control, that is. So
that's been
what's immediately in front of us. We can't be held accountable for what those people allegedly did to me, and I use that term very loose, in the loosest sense possible.
Yeah.
But they've got to, one of these days, those people have to, and I didn't have it as bad as most people that have had it, certainly of some matters. But then, if I'd have done that, and there's some things in my life I've done in the past that I have to live with, which I'm not proud of, but they have to live with that as well. So, and that's not, and that's,
and you get that point across very well. Now, look, the book is a terrific read. It's quite inspirational, but there is a lot of cricket in there, which is why we're here on a cricket show, Andrew. So tell us a little bit about how cricket came into your life, because it was from a very young age, wasn't it?
I was 6 years of age. My ma parked me a 6-year-old autistic son in front of the television to watch the BBC coverage of the 1991 Wisden Trophy, England West Indies. And I just ended up being captivated by Richie Benaud's commentaries. And after that, it was a tough time in Ma's life for other reasons. And then after that, she encouraged me. She'd be my net bowler. She'd be my net bowler in the garden.
What did she bowl?
Overarm.
Okay.
But so she was my net bowler. Nothing was too much trouble. We played in the front garden. We played the back garden. Nothing was too much trouble. And when the ball went on our garage roof, bearing in mind she was either side of 50 at the time, she would climb up onto the garage roof without the aid of a ladder and get the ball and come jump back down, which sort of not only belied her age at the time, because she was an older mother at the time, because she was 41, almost 42 when she had me. I'm the youngest child of today, but the thing was, she was never old in her ways. She was very modern, even to the day she passed away. Very modern, very active, emotionally active, very modern. Not prudish, very modern, very progressive. Because people half her age aren't as progressive as what my mum was. Anyway, and she climbed up the roof, and that athleticism undoubtedly came from her younger days as a Latin American ballroom dancer. When she represented Wales at the Royal Albert Hall in the late 1960s. And I haven't got that natural athleticism, and neither has Melanie. But one thing we do have, which has enabled us to become a lot more athletic, both me and my sister, Melanie, is we have that don't give up attitude that our mother had.
Wow.
That don't give up attitude. And like, if you look at my website when you get a chance again, there's some gym videos of me. And that hasn't come naturally to me.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about fitness, because that's very much a subject of your second book, I think. So you've been a cricket fan since you were 7, 6. I beg your pardon. But you play as well, don't you?
Yes, I play in Shropshire League Division, Shropshire County Cricket League Division 7, the Chirk Seconds. Obviously, Shropshire is over the border in England. The club I play for, Chirk Seconds, is Welsh. It's just over the border into Wrexham County.
Oh, right.
So we're not the only club that played Shropshire that's Welsh. They have like Welsh Coach, Nidloes, Newtown, Montgomery, Albury, I think are classed as Welsh. I played there last year, lovely grounds on a farm. And there's a lovely bunch, Albury. And who else is classed as Welsh in the league? Montgomery, Guildfield. So it's like 7 clubs. And we were in North Wales in my first season.
Yes.
But we decided to move across to Shropshire because the North Wales League had seen better days, to put it mildly.
Oh, right, yeah.
The North Wales League was of a far better standard in the 80s and the 90s. When brings you up to some more of my work, I wrote a book on the history of Brumble football and cricket, a village in Wrexham. Quite a big village, actually. It's actually too big to be in the National Village Knockouts, by far. So Brumble in Welsh cricket in the 80s and 90s were the biggest club in Welsh cricket, probably. Got to 7 Welsh Cup finals in 12 years, winning 3.
Wow. Yeah.
And even though Mark Wheel, who I trained with their seconds when I was a teenager, won the National Village Knockout in 1980 and 1984, and in the 1990s ended up playing in the Liverpool competition. But they were seldom as good as Brumble.
Well, now you tell one story you tell in the book, which I think is really lovely, is your debut. Yes. I'm assuming for Church.
That wasn't actually in the book, to be honest.
Oh, wasn't it? It's a lovely story.
It is indeed. It was after the book came out. It was, to be honest.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was. You may have seen it on an interview I gave to BBC Sport.
That's right. Yes, that's where I saw it. Yes.
And it was. We're actually still in North Wales. First game for me, and it was a lovely second bank holiday Monday of May 2018, boiling. I took my books with me just as an introduction to the people there. I got left off the captain. I've been for a compassionate walk in 6 months' time. Mr. Ian Skinner, and just I showed the books and so forth. And they were a lovely, lovely bunch from the moment I set foot through the gates of 3 years Holyhead Road. And then we rattled up about, in our 40-year-olds, we rattled up about 225, 230. For about five down. And then we were bowling, geese wrestling. The reason I joined Chirk was because they had to concede the seconds, because they had to concede lots of matches due to lack of players.
Right.
I wanted initially to join them because I wanted to be pretty much knowing I'm playing every week without thinking, I'm playing every week and whatever. And I also did my research on them, background research on them, because that was my job at Manchester Television. And I'm very adept at that, I'd like to think. And it turned out they had sort of girl with autism that plays as well.
Oh, right. So
her family are involved with the club as well.
Yeah.
Her brother plays, the autistic girl that plays with me. No, sorry, I don't mean it that way. But plays in the seconds.
Yeah.
Her brother plays in the seconds, and their dad plays is like a club legend in the first.
Oh, wow.
It was over many years.
And in the story you tell, you I think you dropped the first catch, but
I
took
did
the next one. Yeah.
I know. Well, the thing was, I wasn't. It was low sun. It was sunny. It was getting towards probably about. There was a 1 o'clock start because it was 1 o'clock in North Wales there, and probably it was getting to about 5 o'clock. So sun going a bit lower. So I forgot to put my sun hat on.
Right.
I haven't after I put it back on now. I've never taken it off ever since when I've been there. So anyway, dropped the first catch. It was an easy catch. Couldn't see it, so I just had to go like that.
All right.
The next one, 2 overs later, and it was the same batsman, a batter called Venkataraman Sundaram, who is easy to remember because it's an amalgam of 2 elite level Indian umpires.
Well, I was about to say, I'm thinking of Sundaram Ravi for a start, who's an umpire, isn't he, these days? So, and obviously Venkat.
He's not actually on the list now, the elite level list, Sundaram Ravi, and I wonder why he wasn't exactly the best, was he? Let's be honest.
No, well, yes.
And I'd Sundaram Venkataraman.
Maybe that's why we remember him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember it because no disrespect, as it has been discussed to death recently. For a nation of such power in cricket, India have a very, very poor bunch of umpires, no disrespect, or very inexperienced umpires.
Oh dear.
When you consider other less affluent cricketing nations can produce umpires, why can't India? But like I said, another point, and then the second catch came to me. It was tougher. There's someone told me I had it. I just had it. You know, sometimes I don't. I'm guessing you've played village cricket, Tony.
Yes.
You know, sometimes when you've got a catch, you know, sometimes as it's halfway to you. Anyway, I knew that, so I put my hands up while I grabbed it. And then, as I took the catch, my teammates thought about congratulating me. But by this time, I'm 50 yards away, running down like Imran Tahir on acid.
Yeah, there's a thought.
I know, but like I said, whenever I take a wicket, I do that.
Yeah.
Whenever I take a wicket, I do that. Because we're taking 8 wickets at an average of 32 over 3 seasons.
That's pretty good. What do you bowl?
Trying to bowl a little bit of filth with spin. Very slow filth.
Very slow filth. It obviously works.
Well, yeah.
We might have a T-shirt for you.
Well, it's a load of felt in it. It was a lot of double buggers and double bounces and stuff. Now this year, I'd lost a bit of confidence towards the end of last season, but that's what I'm going to do when I play it this year. I'm just going to toss it up high and let it come down, to be honest. I did play with the way the leagues were set up with COVID, the bridge season, we were playing against a couple of teams. There were really a couple of divisions higher than us, so we gave them a good game. We lost, but we gave them a good game. One of them we actually beat, there was a division higher than us. But the batters were generally better last year, and I didn't bowl as well. But the thing was, 8 wickets at 32, and I scored my first 3 runs last year.
Fantastic. Well done, you.
Where there was a bit of a long drawn-out saga. Fortunately, I got the picture of me scoring my first run at Welshpool Seconds. Yeah. When my dream by Welshpool Town Play, who you may remember were one of the top clubs in the Welsh Premier in the mid-noughties. How you may know if you don't know a bit about Welsh domestic football. And the football ground play there, football club play there as well. But they're not now, they've gone really downhill since Chris Kamara played for them, Paul Mercer played for them. All that publicity stunts because they were on hard times. I think they ended up not even the best side in the club in Welshpool. But then I scored my first run. It was like a cut shot. I just ran. I should have been run out by about 11 yards. They fumbled it. I got the other, and I went, yes! And people are wondering what they're doing. But Mr. Skinner, my captain, was being a player umpire at the time. He said it's his first ever run.
Well done. Well done.
What happened then were people who were watching on the side.
Yeah.
The teammates gave me a standing applause. Give me a round of applause. And of people that I was talking to on the side from Welshpool, they applauded as well. But I feel a bit, perhaps it's my personality coming out there and the person I am.
Yeah.
But a young gentleman we've got the place for the Seconds, who's from Sylhet in Bangladesh originally, and he made his debut for me a game after me in 2018, and he's got more wickets than me. He's a better bowler than me, but he scored his first run that day, and we didn't know until the end of the match.
Wow, what a coincidence!
He didn't tell any of us.
But now you're a Lancashire fan, aren't you? Now I've got a confession I have to make for you, because I knew you were from Wrexham, obviously. Yes. I was thinking, well, surely Glamorgan would be the main one. But then I looked at a map and I worked out that to get to Manchester is about an hour,
yes,
and to get to Cardiff is about 3 hours. So I thought, well, now I can see why you're going to be a Lancashire fan.
Well, there's a few reasons behind that.
Yes,
it's a popular misconception to make that, Mr. Bishop. Actually, I could probably get to most county headquarters quicker than I can get to Safari Gardens by car or train.
Yes.
I get to Nottingham, Durham, Derby, Headingley, Worcester, obviously Lancashire. I get to Lords quicker than Safari Gardens if I go by train from Chester.
Yeah.
And it's a possible misconception to me, because this is an interesting point generally when you think of the pandemic, and it shows how idiotic some of the political decisions. Again, saying this is a Labour vote, so it's a Labour Welsh government has been since the start of the revolution. But when you're making such contrary decisions, either because you must underlyingly want Welsh independence, which is not going to happen like Scotland, because the thing is with Wales, we're very much geographically linked into England. Whatever way we look at it, 2/3 of Wales is within a 45-minute drive of the border in England.
Yeah.
Well, in an hour and a half, you get from the far west of Wales over the border in an hour and a half. Scotland, on the other hand, 2.5 hours drive to the nearest major place in England, which is Newcastle. 2.5 hours drive.
Yeah.
So, and it just baffles me. So it's a popular misconception to make. It was always a Mickey take of me and MUT. I didn't support Glasgow. No. And what also irritates, well, it's actually statistically, there's only actually ever been 2 North Walians in the history of Lancashire County Cricket Club that actually play for 2 North Walians in the history of Lancashire County Cricket Club to play for Lancashire.
Who were they?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I may be mistaken. I think one may have been Bob Barber. Barber. I don't think he played for Lancashire, did he? Bob Barber.
Mm-hmm.
60s, you opened the batting with boycott for England, Bob Barber.
Oh, right. Yes.
And in the 60s, it was like the famous story boycott said about him deliberately running him out because he was tired, because Bob Barber didn't want to run. And in Australia, in the 63, 64, when people were getting battered, I think, or the one before the 70, 71 one. And it's just a popular misconception to me, because, and I say people in close as near as Manchester aren't cognizant of how close they actually are to being Welsh. Yeah. Geographically, Manchester is it's close. It's less time to drive from Manchester to over the border than what it is from Manchester to Leeds.
No, it is. Now, you've been going to the Saturday of every Old Trafford test, haven't you, since about 1998?
Yes.
You're a Lancashire follower. Who stands out in your memory? What occasions at Old Trafford do you remember most fondly?
Any time involving Andrew Flintoff, really, because he always used to. He sponsored me once at
he did.
International against Sri Lanka in July 2002. Cost me £10. He always used to remember me, did Andrew Flintoff. I don't believe Colin Freddy, that's not his name. It was Andrew Flintoff, and he was. I'm being honest, in that era, the players were more approachable, which isn't necessarily the players' fault, because. And then Lancashire, not the club it was. It's just a mini Manchester United now, which it's corporate. It knows the price of everything, the value of NAFAR. Yeah. But like Manchester United do, to put it mildly, the corporate side of Manchester United and Lancashire, and you can't even watch the members get treated appallingly. That's why the vast majority of members have left. You look at clubs like Surrey. I heard Nottinghamshire, they're extending their memberships. Lancashire is the most expensive membership in the country, and you don't even get the limited overs games. Well, you did. Well, when I first became a member in 2004, before I left in 2015, you got everything for £52. So, as a disabled member, it's a long way. I used to be able to sit in the pavilion, and you'd be all these cricketing heroes. You name it, coming up, Andrew Flintoff, you name it at the time, and they've been playing there.
I was going to ask you about Andrew Flintoff, because you were trying to get sponsored for was it a run or a walk, and you just asked him, and he helped you out like a shot, didn't he?
Yeah, he did actually. I just took it on the off chance. He just filled in £10. So you come for it later.
Yeah.
And I did at the interval, he'd been rolling because England were in the field. And I think Sri Lanka got 220 odd, England got about 180 odd. It was a lower scoring game, as it tended to be sometimes years gone by. And he just the person on the gate by the door of the dressing room, he's giving it you. Here you go, mate. And I think fundamentally he's a very, very nice man. I don't think he's the most analytical cricket mind like Michael Atherton, and I don't think it's remiss of me to say that very different characters. I think it's well publicised that they didn't particularly get on as teammates. Well,
this is Mike Atherton and Freddie Flintoff, right? I can possibly see that.
I don't think they got on very well as teammates. Just very different attitudes, very different mindsets. And obviously they worked together at Sky a few times.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Lancashire, when I was growing up, they were the one-day team, the 90s. They had like Wazim Akram. One of the two cricketers I'd love to meet that I haven't met, they will be Steve Waugh.
Oh, right.
And he was the man. And then you had basically the entire England one-day team played for Lancashire. And then you had David Lloyd as coach. And then after that, you had Dav Watmore, who just come straight from
Who is your favourite? Who's your favourite cricketer, Andrew?
Ever?
Yeah.
To be honest, I like
because it may have changed since when because you did say I think in the book Alex or in one of your Alex Stewart.
Alex Stewart when I was very young.
Right.
He's someone I admire from another age. I think my current favourite cricketer is Moeen Ali.
Right.
My favourite cricketer, England and Wales cricketer, because I like the fact he's got a social conscience, and I like his attitude, his social conscience. I like the way he conducts himself. I think he's fantastic the way he conducts himself. He's got a social conscience, which I think it's safe to say most elite level sports people don't have a social conscience, and that's why it was so refreshing and so odd in lots of ways for Marcus Rashford achieving what he did, especially being a Manchester United footballer, where usually Manchester United footballers are very much discouraged from doing such matters.
Well, he inspired a lot of people, did Marcus Rashford, including us. We raised a lot of money on the back of his activities.
But usually Manchester United footballers are very discouraged from being like that, and very discouraged from having any opinion, and footballers are generally. So it was quite refreshing that. And it's a sorry state of affairs when Marcus Rashford has made, as a young footballer, has made politicians do what they should be doing anyway, what they get paid to do.
He's used his voice very well.
But like I say, Moeen Ali's my favourite cricketer currently. I know he's coming towards the end now, so I doubt he'll play another test, unfortunately.
So I kind of agree with you.
But then the thing is, my favourite cricketers over time, probably Steve Waugh.
Right,
Kumar Sangakkara.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. An absolute joy to watch.
Well, not just that. I actually seen him score his 100 at Lords, and he was Moeen Ali's first Test wicket.
He was. He was
Moeen Ali's first Test wicket. I remember about an over before, I was with my Stuart Garn, who's a presenter commentator for MUTV Test against Sri Lanka in 2014. Moeen Ali's Test debut. And Sangakkara just got his 100, he got the Lords on the board finally. And he said to me, Mr. Gardner, he said, if Moeen Ali gets a wicket, I'll eat my hat. Well, I think you've got to eat over 180 hats now, Mr. Gardner, especially after all the wickets he took. Because being honest, the thing is, when Moeen Ali, I think he's the ultimate team player as well. But I went from opener to 9. I know he's really sacrificed his batting for the sake of the England and Wales team. And also other players I quite like. I always like watching Larabat at his best. I like Graham Swan.
No, there's a story about you and Graham Swan, which I saw about you singing charlatan songs with him, right?
He really did, telling stories on the Old Trafford balcony. It was a rain-affected 50-over Provident group match, second bank holiday Monday of 2006. He's a bit of a character, but I don't necessarily think he's, unfortunately, the best Test match commentator, to put it mildly. I don't think he's not exactly. When I want to watch Test cricket, I want someone like a Bumble who's fun, but is very analytical.
Yeah.
But I also like people who are very analytical generally regarding Test cricket, because people look at Nasser Sain. Nasser Sain's a lovely bloke. He had a copy of my memoirs.
Yeah.
I forgot to give a business card because I think he probably would have emailed me. So anyway, and because he said he'd give me feedback, but I didn't actually give him a business card. He doesn't like me, man. Anyway, so I like the fact when Nasser said he's captaining the game from the commentary box. He's captaining the game. He's doing what he did as England and Wales captain at the turn of the millennium. He's putting that head into commentating.
Yeah, no, he is, and it's always good value. You met Richie Benno as well once, didn't you? Am I right? Twice you met Richie Benno.
Once was in 2005, at the end of the very much rain-affected third day of the 2005 Ashes, where we were just about trying to get Australia to follow on. And we just missed, and Ward was putting on some runs. Ward got 90 odd, and we just avoided the follow on. I cried. Anyway, I put my hand around it because I put my hand around people that have a picture. Yeah. This is awful, Richie Benno, no pressure now. Keeps his hair free. So I did that. And then I met him at Waterstones in Manchester.
Right.
On Deansgate, which would have been the 5th day of the test at Old Trafford the next year against Pakistan. But it finished on the 3rd day when I was there, on the Saturday. And he was there. It was good job it finished then, because if I remember correctly, it chucked it down that day. She did invariably the second half of summer of 2006 and summer of 2007, but the first half of 2006. Anyway, and I'd be pictured with him there. So he was someone I greatly admired as a commentator, obviously far too young.
Oh, yeah.
Richie Benno, the player who retired, was his test career finished in 1964, wasn't it? So far too young for me, but consider I wasn't born until the year of Orwell, 1984. So, but very much all the way out of the players. And I got for someone I used to like watching growing up, but I don't think me and him had the same politics.
The last time I saw Darren Gough, would you believe, was in at Vicarage Road, Watford.
Was he watching Barnsley?
He wasn't even. No, he wasn't watching Barnsley. I can't remember who we were playing, but I think obviously he's from Barnsley, but he lives. He lives quite near Watford, sort of way. And he was just on the next table to me as I was having sort of dinner with a couple of friends, and ended up having a long chat to him. More about football than cricket, sadly, on that occasion.
For Watford was my second ever United match. It was October 1999. United won 4-1.
Yeah.
Dennis Irwin scored a penalty just before half time.
Yeah.
York and Cole shedded the 3 goals. Richard Johnson scored for Watford, and Mark Williams was sent off.
Yep.
Mark Williams was sent off the North
So Andrew, that actually brings me on to a question I was going to ask you, because in the I've Got a Stat for You book, it works beautifully, but you clearly have an association type memory that whatever's happening in your life, you seem to be able to recall instantly a kind of a simultaneous sporting moment down to quite a level of detail.
Football or cricket, because that's how I relate to what I was doing on that day. But the thing is, that's my type of memory. But if you ask me, do 3 tasks in the house, pick up this, pick up that, pick up this, I can get easily waylaid and distracted, especially if there's text message on TV or something on TV.
Yeah.
But certainly, ask you to do certain tasks, I can get waylaid. So, certainly regarding dates, the dates of football and cricket matches, not so much football now, because I've very much been disillusioned with football now for close to 10 years. But very much, it's how I relate to what I was doing on that day. Now, also, I have cheated in the last decade or so, well, for the last 12 years, because I kept a calendar of every day, made notes on it.
Yes.
And then after that, I had diaries from 2015 to diaries from 2015 to the end of 2019. But now I keep it on a Google Calendar on my phone. So it's not been too as busy as it's not been busy as you particularly expect. Most of my social like things have been like podcasts and so forth recently. Podcasts. Not just cricket.
Well, there is a lot of them about.
not just cricket, but also autism-based ones as well.
Right.
And also one matter that's been really good during the pandemic was quite poignant, really, because this was on the evening, my funeral on 6th of February, the 6th of January was in the morning. I gave a eulogy at it, talking about our unique relationship, and I didn't mention cricket, but what the relationship with cricket. And then that evening, I had a committee meeting at AGM at Church Cricket Club on Zoom. And they decided to make me a volunteer officer for diversity. Now, as soon as I came off, I felt a bit poignant, really, because when I'd come off the Zoom, because we used to have Zoom quizzes with the club mates in summer, and the first thing I wanted to do was go in the kitchen to Ma's seat in the kitchen and say, Ma, you'll never guess what? They've put me on the church general committee.
Brilliant.
But obviously she wasn't there, was she? So, but then the thing is, the Church Cricket Club have been fantastic with me and my family since she passed away, and even a couple of days before. Well, they've been fantastic. They've been marvellous to me, the club have. I had condolence cards off them. I had personal messages off people. I had hundreds in the group chat off them, club group chat. And the club have been so kind that they've paid for a plaque, and for plaque to go out to name the nets in my Hazel Davis's memory, and for black armbands for both the first game of the first in the season, which is 2 weeks before mine in the second. I'm going to work, and they paid for black armbands for both teams, and 30 of them they've paid for, and they allow me. And I'm going to keep 5 because I'm going to keep it for the family. The 5, and the rest will obviously allow Church to have them.
So you still watch a lot of cricket. You play a lot of cricket.
Actually, I didn't play any cricket really till I was 33. 33. That game against, when I took the catch against Rifted in seconds of Venkataraman and Sundown, was my first senior cricket match ever.
Red ball cricket or white ball cricket? Which is your preference?
Cricket.
Just cricket. Doesn't matter about the colour of the ball or the length of the game.
Oh, well, obviously I prefer a red ball, so it's a nicer feel. But then it was the first senior game I've ever had at the age of 33. So I just thought I wanted to give it a go. Like I said, I looked at the scorecards at Church and saw the seconds were conceding matches, and I got in touch with them and then did my research, and on top of that, and found my captain, Mr. Ian Skinner, went for a lovely walk with this lunchtime.
Oh, nice.
And we had very much a shared ethos over cricket. Went for a coffee he did with me and my mother in middle of Wrexham. And we had a shared ethos regarding how our standard of any cricket should be played with the manners and so forth. And we want to win. But the main matter is to enjoy it. We're not Joe Root, we're not Jimmy Anderson, we're not any verbal cricketer at the second team. We're not going to sledge. We just want to enjoy ourselves, but also perform. And I always think you'll probably know this as well as me, Mr. Bishop. I think cricket in this country, certainly the EWCB, because I call it EWCB.
Yes, England and Wales Cricket Board. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think it undersells how much of a fantastic product we have with the county championship. Because I think there's nations in the cricketing world, 4 member nations, who would, I wouldn't say kill, but even in India, I wouldn't imagine you get the interest in the championship game, the Ranji Trophy that you would in a championship game.
No.
So depending where you go, yes, Somerset or Worcester might be full all the time, but on a good, nice day, even in championship cricket. But I think generally the EWCB, and I think the media generally, of so many people who aren't knowledgeable about cricket, underestimate how much interest there is in county championship matches. Just championship matches, you look on Cricket Info, you look on the streams, like I hear Somerset's is fantastic from all accounts. The club streams.
Have you been talking to Annie Che by any chance?
Pardon?
Have you been talking to Annie?
What do you mean? I've just heard it's very. I've just heard it's been very.
Okay.
I've not actually verbally spoken to. I've only ever spoken via email.
Right. Okay.
But like all of them have really stepped up during the pandemic from all accounts. I watched the moments to be found on YouTube.
Yes.
And that was getting what I would suggest would be more than what would have been if it was on Sky. Sky Sports covered it at Lords, but on their YouTube channel. But I'd suggest the figures they got on YouTube was more than what they would have got on television.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Because it's like a million viewers over 4 days, wasn't it? Which is more than what it would get if it was on Sky Sports Cricket, I would suggest. And I think people I think when people understand, and it's not just updates on Sky Sports, there's Cricket Info, there's local radio, BBC local radio, there's all sorts of people, and it's a very fantastic product.
Well, I think the point you make that the EWCB has a product it doesn't probably fully realise the value of is very, very well made. Now, I'd like to ask you.
I just want one more, Mr.
Yes, of course.
That brings us up to another point when I said about Lancashire and Manchester United. Someone who knows the price of everything, but the value is not.
Yes.
So,
Yes. No, I've enjoyed my trips to both Old Traffords over the years.
Actually, Old Trafford cricket is not the place it used to be. It's not a nice.
No, I remember you saying
the loud music at T20s, and I've got in touch with the club over this many times. They gave me a suite, but then I just couldn't. I still only heard the loud music. My sensory issues, my autism, and I've tried to change matters, but it just used to be. I just ended up watching it on the screen they had in the suite in the end, because it's unacceptable the very loud music they have at T20 matches. Yes, I'd love to go watch the county championship matches I used to go and watch. I've only been able to go to watch one at Coin Bay in 2019, and one against Hampshire in 2017, where Anderson was actually playing, was bowling in that day.
Right.
I think Carlisle got about 90 odd in Sky to catch.
Yeah.
And people, like I say, this brings us to the point I just made. People might not be able to physically go to a championship cricket, but people are keeping an eye on it all the time. They're looking at the scores repeatedly. They're on their laptops, they're on their smartphones, and they're on streaming services. But that's because county championship cricket is not at an accessible time. Now, T20 Old Trafford's a very accessible time when crowds are permissible outside of the pandemic, but it's not particularly welcoming as it used to be, because it's a very corporate environment. The music is unbearably loud, where you can't even hear yourself think, basically, and you can't hear the players talk on the field. You can't hear the crowd. The crowd can't hear the crowd. You can't hear the players. And now this is completely different, that artificial crowd noise, compared to, say, for Southern Asian full member nation plays a limited overs game at Old Trafford. Yeah, I love the noise of like Pakistan fans or India fans, because that is part of the experience. And this in your head, it's just not part of why I want to go watch cricket. Yeah, jazz it up a bit to get a wider audience or a certain type of audience, but it just seems to be it's going to go down the route of darts if we're not careful, because darts is the most violent sporting event I've ever been to and ever will be go to.
Goodness me,
darts is the most violent sporting event I've ever been to, and if we're not careful, certainly at Old Trafford in the past, and I'd certainly suggest possibly what's really going to end up with 100 is this crowd is going to end up heavy drinking. I don't like at a test match where people can ration their drinking, or they can have a pint an hour. So now I'm teetotal with the autism and the medication I'm on, but if you have a pint an hour, they might have 2 in a session, say, and then they're a bit well oiled by the last session. But at a T20, people are probably getting finishing work, getting wrecked, coming from the office and so forth. Or we're just going to end up with a situation like the BDC dances, where it put me off darts. And T20 cricket, I'd love to go watch it, but it's the noise, not the noise of the fans, the noise of the public tannoy, the tannoy of the music. It's just, I go to watch hundreds of gigs. I've been to watch hundreds of gigs of so many genres I don't think many of us would believe, because I'm a BBC Six music listener. But that at Old Trafford is just terrible. It's just artificial. Well,
no, I take your point. Can I ask you a bit about your a more recent book, not your most recent, I don't think, but you've written the book about a vision of exercise. Yeah. It sort of brings together individual stories of organizations and individuals whose physical and mental well-being is improved in some form or other by exercise. Now, there's a beautiful foreword written by Sarah Taylor, isn't there, the England wicketkeeper? How did you line up Sarah Taylor to write that for you? Because it's beautifully done.
I got in touch with Henry Cowan at the EWCB of the ladies team, and she stalled on it for quite some time, just as the book was about to come out. So what I went and did in the end, I tried to get Jonathan Short on board. I got in touch with Warwickshire, but they turned me down. It was during his last season playing for Warwickshire in the second division, but he turned me down. So then, just as that happened, that same day, she accepted to do it in Fenton, because she stalled on it a bit. But then, unfortunately, I've never met Sarah Taylor, which is a pity. I would have loved to have met her, because I get the impression she's a very interesting person. But I've had emails off her, but I would like to have met her, because I think she's a fascinating human being. But the thing was, it was a lovely forward, and for my book, to really took my little part of the cricketing stance, I went on a research trip to Edgbaston. At the end of the 2017 season in October, me and my nephew went down on the direct train from Wrexham to Birmingham for the England visually impaired team, and we both tried on the goggles, the three different severities of goggles, and that was an experience. It was wonderful. I was very, very welcomed by the England visually impaired team. The coach at the time, I don't know if he's still the coach now, Ross Hunter, and then not long after that, they were on Sky Sports, like the zone in the net, like Michael Atherton and Nasser Sane having a go with the goggles on, especially Nasser Sane. And I think other England cricketers had a go, like Owen Morgan's had a go, Alex Hales had a go, and put us they're better at traditional cricket than what they were at visually impaired cricket. It's totally got a different skill.
Well, one of the organisations you talk about in the book is the Lord's Taverners.
Yes, I do.
And the work that they do. What particularly about that got them into your book, as it were?
I don't know really. I don't know. They just replied. I get in touch with all these different people. I think a different idea would come into my head every day. A different idea I'd see on the BBC News app regarding fitness or mental health, and it just thought it was a good idea. And I thought, I liked cricket, which my favourite sport. I just thought I'd give it a try, and they replied. They sent me all the information, and they were all right. I didn't meet anyone from there physically, but like I said, my favourite part of the research of the book, because I was very much at a crossroads halfway through the book, both with my own training. I went from one trainer who we thought was a family friend, but started basically bullying my mother, my sister, and myself. And then I found another gym. I was about to give up in Queens. I was quite overweight at the time. In Queens Ferry, Flintshire, called Number One Health Strength Performance. It's non-profit.
Right.
And they've got a chapter in that book. And I had a coach called Garrett Theo Roberts, Master Scientist. He left just before the pandemic, and now Chris Hibbert's my coach. And the thing is with them, it saved my life. Number one, HSP. I don't mind admitting in the summer of 2017, it saved my life. And not only do I train there, you've got a Paralympic medalist trains there who helped with the book, who was in the book, and she actually aided in more than sent a condolence card when my mum passed away. And I've been to events like they were at the book signing when that book signing was there, and they were at an event with autism. And there's other people from the book, like and the current Welsh national footballer trains our team, Ryan Hedges.
Yes.
Plays for Valentina, plays for Aberdeen. Got injured for the rest of the season. We've got a Manchester United academy football under 19, academy football in Welsh under 19 international. Yes, Steve Hughes. I can do more chin-ups than him, which I'm very, very proud of. And we've also got a We've got Welsh International Rugby League International. Rhys Williams plays for Salford City Reds. I don't know, he went, as the youngsters say, he went viral at the beginning of the 2020 Super League season because he scored a try for Salford City Reds. He beat about 7 players, scored at Buckingham Stadium, what was McAlpine Stadium, and people were comparing him in appearance to Mohamed Salah. So he went a bit viral for a bit. So he trains at our gym. And we've also got TNS train at our gym, Chester FC have trained at our gym, Connors Key have, but they don't anymore. Well, before the pandemic they didn't.
Well, you quote a stat in this book, in the vision of exercise, tales of inspiring people and organizations, or tales of inspiring people and organizations. There's some US research that says increasing your activity levels to 3 times a week can reduce risk of depression by 20%, which is the connection you make between exercise and well-being and how individuals and organizations enable that is a really interesting theme that kind of runs right through the book and is illustrated by a number of different examples that you kind of bring to life as stories throughout the book.
Well, one statistic I like to recite regarding that is one I give in my non-profit speeches on PowerPoint. Is the average life expectancy for someone on the autistic spectrum is 17 years less than the average.
Wow, yeah.
That's because of less active lifestyles, probably less encouragement to train. But you've also got to find the correct environment for you, not just any environment. Look, I'm training. You've got to find an environment that is good for you and you're happy there, genuinely happy. It took me 15 years to find one before number one, 15 years.
So this is another example of your condition driving you to find solutions that have helped other people, which is phenomenal.
I don't know about helping other people, but sometimes I'm just happy if I can help myself. If me and my family can help me, or I can help them. That's what I really want to do, because with the exercise, I've trained pretty much every weekday during the pandemic when the gym's been open and stuff. And my sister, Melanie, redeveloped her garage.
And this is your sister, Melanie, isn't it?
Yeah. So she redeveloped her garage next door into a gym. And we've trained pretty much every day, Monday to Friday through the pandemic, as well as sporadically with the various lockdown restrictions and so forth. And number one, HSP. And during the lockdown, I've lost 3 stone.
Wow.
And I've lost 3 stone.
Well, you're looking very good on it, I may say.
Well, the problem was I lost the weight.
Yeah.
When I first went to number one. But then I fell into an eating disorder, my old eating disorder.
Oh dear, right.
My autistic eating disorder, where I got obsessed with having protein and not processing information about how carbohydrates were good for me. Or carbohydrates fuel my workout, protein repairs the muscles, and that I've got to have, well, to give it simplistic for me, 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram I weigh, and 4.5 to 5 grams per kilogram of carbohydrates I weigh. And I was doing it all the wrong way around. So I just got something really bad in my head with my eating disorder.
Yeah.
And I put weight on late 2019, early 2020. And then I just felt I get like my old coach down before he moved jobs, moved careers. But fortunately, I'd like to say I've lost more than the weight now, and I'm the slimmest I've ever worn. I've been on fitter than I've been.
Well, that's fantastic. Let me close by just asking you one more question. Have you found, or do you find now, that understanding of autism is changing, improving? And do you feel that by writing that I've got a stat for you, with your website, with the conversations such as we're having here, are you finding that people are better understanding the challenges and ways to be understanding and to help?
understanding and awareness are two different matters. I say the general public are very aware of autism nowadays, which is simply weren't when I was first diagnosed in April 1989, or even in my formative years. But the services that were designed for people with autism and other conditions are non-existent now since the recession of 2008. And I do feel, and there's lots of good autism, regional and local autism charities that the third sector have taken over from the public services. But I still feel there is certainly a big gap for these local and regional autism charities, including the one called Your Space I volunteered for. I won an award for that as well. There seems to be a gap after someone reaches adulthood, after they reach 19 or 25, where ideally I want to go out on dates with girls. I didn't go on a date till I was 30, so I was, how old was I? Almost 34, so just 33. And there doesn't seem to be very much in the way of catering for these people, because these people are out there. They're out there. Yeah.
Well, something like 700,000.
I think it's more.
You said in the book that it's probably more than that. That's the figure you quoted there.
I'd say by some distance, there's more people with autism undiagnosed actually been diagnosed.
Wow.
I would say that. I can't give you exact numbers because it's a supposition, but I'd say more people have autism in the United Kingdom that haven't been diagnosed than have. And I would say there's always people out there that are looking for girls out there who are looking to go on dates, I'd like to think, but without going on to online dating, which is very much a minefield and a bit of a jungle, it's very much a lot more difficult to find those girls, because I realised from the experience of going on dates with girls who haven't been autistic or have had difficulty, shall we say, or eccentricities, that unfortunately with my condition, the person I am, it's very unlikely I would find someone who has a similar condition like autism, OCD, dyspraxia, or some such.
Because people demonstrate the condition, as it were, in different ways. So it's
people
no two people are the same, as it were.
No, exactly. But I do think there's got to be people. There's people out there who have got these conditions that would probably date me and have a long-term relationship. But then it's finding those people without going on the jungle that is online dating, and that's in the modern day, even before the pandemic, that is very difficult in a, I'd say, more permissible, less stressful environment, like clubs and things like that for people of a certain. And some of those people anyway, they might be career people with really high-ranking jobs. High professional jobs, and they happen to be autistic, but they may not know.
Yeah.
There's people out there, but then you're not going to find these people, fortunately, from my experiences. And the autism charity, that's where the autism charities, unfortunately, probably due to money and resources and numbers as well, numbers accessing the service in this particular subsection of people with autism, aren't going to do that. So it's unfortunate it's online dating or not at all. So, and I've been stood up 4 times and I've had some really horrible people. Last girl I did was 3 months, this time last year. And lovely girl, and she had OCD, and I think she was a bit on the spectrum as well, but lovely girl. And apart from the fact, I think in the end she wanted a friendship, but it was very much, it was someone that type of person, but wants a relationship and probably lived a bit closer than what the girl did to me in Wrexham, would probably be ideal, because all those girls exist, but you have to go on online dating to do it, and it's not a nice place.
No, I can understand that. Let me just finish if I may.
Sorry, Mr. Bishop. And there should be places where people who are autistic, and it's not always it's such a broad spectrum, like we've discussed. That I feel a lot of what I would like in my life, there's not always the representation or support from outside mates and family, because none of my mates are autistic.
Yeah.
But they're there for, say, if you're 16 or younger. So are you fitted to a little box, a different box?
No, I understand. So, Andrew, it's been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Cricket as a theme through your life, autism as, you know, the challenges you've met and the way that you've written about it. Anybody who reads "I've Got a Stat for You, My Life with Autism" will come out having a better understanding of the condition, whilst also being inspired by some of the stories and the wisdom that it contains. I think the other book we've talked about,
especially by my late mother,
very much in the book is.
I think she's more of the hero of that book than me.
Well, and that does come across. The second book is A Vision of Exercise: Tales of Inspiring People and Organisations, that Andrew has also written. That is also, and also there's a website, isn't there, Andrew, that people can go to find you?
A Vision of Exercise was the third book I wrote.
There's the second one, yes. Tell us about that quickly.
Well, the first one I wrote was on the history of Brumble football and cricket.
That's right.
Village in Rex, and then there's the memoirs, which I did concurrently, and then A Vision of Exercises in 2018. So
well, that's a fair body of work. Andrew, it's been an absolutely fascinating conversation. We really enjoyed it. We hope to have you on Guerilla Cricket another time soon. In the meantime, I'm just going to say thank you very much indeed. Enjoy. Best wishes for Lancashire this season. Well, we hope to get to see some cricket, don't we?
Well, it looks like I'm going to see two of the tests against India, one at Lords and one at Old Trafford, after June the 21st. So that's something. So.
Well, you will indeed see some cricket. Andrew, once again, thank you so much. It has been an absolute delight to meet you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bishop.
And we'll talk to you soon. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Revolutionary cricket commentary.